In this video, we're going to be working through a number of different string examples, but actually for the first time, we're not going to be doing them in BlueJ. Follow along with me. I'm going to open up a web browser and I'm going to search for CodingBat.com. And you can see this is a website called CodingBat. And the whole goal of CodingBat is to give you little tiny examples to work through. Again, the idea is there's a bunch of small coding exercises here that we are going to use to practice some of the string methods and later on some other ones as well. One of the things about this unit is that there's a lot of little details, and we find that often you need a decent amount of practice for everything to really sink in and to develop your problem-solving skills. You can think of CodingBat similar to in your language class when you're asked to do little exercises for homework where you conjugate verbs and other things like that. This is going to be similar. We're practicing the skill of using strings. So for you guys, you should go ahead and make an account with your school username and some password that you create. I'm not going to log myself in because I've actually done a number of the exercises we're about to do, and it'll have the solutions up if I do that. But you should go ahead, again, create an account and log yourself in. And then once you do, we're going to go over to string 1. We're actually just going to do a bunch of examples together inside string 1. And you'll see what I mean when I say that these are just little string practice problems that we're going to do. Let's start with the very first one here, which is hello name. It says, given a string name, maybe Bob, we're going to return a greeting in the form of hello Bob. So you can see what I've got here is actually the shell of some method. The method's called hello name. It's going to return a string and actually get a string as a parameter, which is the name. You might be wondering, where does this come from? We're not in some class right now. We're not in a console program. Don't worry about that. When we code methods in CodingBat, they kind of just exist. When I hit this go button, it'll actually run my solution or my code here with a bunch of different examples to check and see that it's right. So how am I going to do this? Well, name is the part in the middle, and I just need to add hello before it and an exclamation point after it. So I'm going to return, I need to return because this is string, hello with a space plus name plus an exclamation point. If you remember, plus in Java means two different things depending on what you're using it with. When I do plus with an int or a double, that's just addition. But when I do plus with a string, that's that special thing called concatenation. And all concatenation is a fancy word for I'm just going to stick this thing together. So we're sticking together hello, whatever the name is, and an exclamation point. And you'll notice if I hit go, oh no, I did something wrong, which is that, oh gosh, the H in hello has to be capital. Again, we're case sensitive here. And you'll see, again, it runs with a bunch of different test cases and tells me if I get them correct, I get this nice green check mark, which is super satisfying. Let's go back to string 1. You can see now I've done hello name. It's checked off for me. Let's do the 2 down from it called first half. This one says, given a string of even length, return the first half. So the string woohoo gives me woo. So how am I going to do that? Well, to get half of the string, I'm trying to grab a piece of the string and return that. Isn't there a method that we learned the other day that gets me a piece of a string? It's substring. So let's do this. Return str, which is the name of my parameter, dot substring. And don't I want the substring the first half? So from 0 to actually half of the length. How do I get the length of a string? It's str.length. And then I actually just want to divide that by 2. And we don't actually need to worry about if this is kind of even or odd length because it actually said given that it's even length. All right, let's go. And woohoo, we did it. Let's go back to string 1. And we're going to do the one called at first, which I think is in this last column kind of halfway down. All right, this one says, given a string, return a string length 2 made of its first 2 characters. If the string is less than 2, we're going to use at for the missing characters. So I think we have kind of a couple of cases here, right? I have the case where I have enough letters to take a substring that's too long. And two cases where I don't, right? Either the case where it's just one letter or the case where it's actually 0 letters. So let's do this. How can I check that the length is actually 0? Well, there's two ways I can do it. Well, I think I can do this. str.length equals 0. Then I know there's nothing in this string. Then I can return probably at. I can do else here. If str.length is equal to 1, I can just return the string plus an at to fill in the missing space. So let's return str plus an at symbol. Else, let's return. Now I can actually do the substring. I know it's not length 0 or length 1, so it's got to be 2 or more. str.substring from 0 to 2. Uh-oh, where am I missing a curly brace? It looks like I accidentally somehow deleted this one. All right. You'll notice that every 3 correct CodingBat exercises, you actually get this yellow star, which makes you feel like such a star, doesn't it? Now, this at first method, we did this by checking all of the different cases. Either it's length 0, or it's length 1, or otherwise it's 2 or more, and I can take the substring. But there's actually one clever way that I can do this that I really just want to show you. Let's do this. You don't have to type this, but I just want you to see it. I'm going to do string with at equals str plus at, and we're just going to return with at dot substring 0, 2. And this actually will also work. Now, what did I do here? Well, I just added an at onto the end of every string. If this was length 0, this string would just be at. If it was length 1, like h, it would be h at. If it was length 2, it would, or more, it would be whatever that is plus an at the end. And I can take the substring of that. This is what I would say is kind of the quote-unquote clever solution. Now, I'm trying to help you kind of build up your problem-solving skills here throughout this class, but you're never going to be punished for not seeing the clever way to do something. The way that we originally had with the nested if statement is totally fine. That definitely worked. And remember, the rule on your tests is if it works, it works. But I just wanted to show you this other way that you can do it. All right, let's go back to string 1. We're going to look at the one called tochar, which is actually right above at first. This one says, given a string and an index, we're going to return a string length 2 starting at the given index. It says if the index is too big or too small to define a string length 2, we're just going to use the first 2 characters. The string length will be at least 2. Sweet. So I think I have a couple of different things to check here. Almost like a Goldilocks sort of situation. Weirdly, what do they mean by the index being too small? Weirdly, in this problem, they could actually give you a negative number for the index, which is a little silly and we know we would never actually do, but let's make sure that we account for that. So if index is less than 0, we're going to return the first 2 characters. So str.substring from 0 to 2. So that's that the index is too small. If I get to this else, either the index works or it's too big. So let's check and see, is the index too big? How can I check if the index is too big? Like here, 2 is not too big, but 3 is. Now, what is the length of this example? The length is 4. So it looks like what I'm looking for is it's got to be at least 2 less than the length. So what do I want to check? It's a problem when the index is actually greater than 2 less than the length. A little weird to say that. It's like a little weird to wrap your mind around, but I think that's what we want. If index is greater than str.length, minus 2, then we've got a problem because I actually can't grab 2 characters. So let's return str.substring. Again, it's just the first 2 letters, 0 to 2. And now in our little Goldilocks scenario, this is the else, so this is when we're just right. We're going to return str.substring from index to index plus 2. And let's hit go, and it looks like this does indeed work. So again, we're trying all of the different combinations to see what we need to end up doing. And let's just do one more together. So I'm going to click string 1. Let's do the one let's call concat. Where is concat? Oh, it's in the middle column, kind of a little over halfway down. This one says, given 2 strings, we're going to append them together, known as concatenation. That's what we do with the plus, and return the result. However, if the concatenation creates a double char, or same of one character in the middle, we're going to omit one of those characters. So if I do A, B, C, and cat, you can see that I get rid of one of the extra C's. How can we check this? Well, don't I need to check that the first string's last letter is not the same as the last string's first letter? You can actually see they have a little bit of a screw you in this last example. We're like, haha, one of the strings could be empty. And it's going to be a problem if you try to do a substring with an empty string. So I think we actually just have a bunch of if statements to write. If either one of them is empty, I'm just going to return the other one, right? So let's do if a.length equals 0. Aren't I just going to return b? Let's do else if b.length equals 0. Oops, I forgot parentheses. We're going to return a. Great. Else, this is the case where both of them have some characters in them. So in this case, I need to check and see, is the last character of the first one the same as the first character of the last one? So let's do this. I'm going to make some variables to make my life easier. Let's do string last. This is the last character of the first one. Equals a.substring a.length minus 1 should actually get me the last character. Remember, if I just put in one number, it's wherever that index is to the end. And since this is this last character, I'm just going to grab the last character. Let's do string first equals b.substring and this is just going to be 0 to 1. Now let's do a little if statement. Don't I care about if these are the same? I can do if. Remember what we learned in the last example. I actually cannot use equals equals for 2 strings. Instead, I'm going to have to write this as last dot equals first. If that's the case, then what am I going to do? Let's return a plus b dot substring and leave off the first character so I can just do 1 here. And if I have this else, that means that I didn't have a problem with those middle 2 characters, so I can just return a plus b. Wow, kind of a crazy problem with lots of little pieces, but I think this should work. So again, how are we going to use CodingBat is we're going to do a whole bunch of little string practice problems on this. You're going to be doing a lot in class and a lot of homeworks that are actually going over practicing different CodingBat methods. Now, I want to get rid of one little misconception here before we jump into some more string stuff, which is that this class, you're going to have to memorize different methods. That's actually not true. We know that there's 4 different string methods, right? There's length, substring, index of, and equals. But you actually don't need to remember those. I'm going to open up a new tab here, and I'm going to just search for APCSA quick reference. On your AP test, the College Board actually gives you this sheet. And this sheet actually tells you a bunch of the methods of the string class. And You'll actually get some version of this on every single test for the rest of the year. Look, you actually don't have to memorize any of these because they're all actually given to you here.